Wisconsin lakes spend much of their time in a frozen state, but this can vary quite a bit from year to year. The amount of time that the surface of the lake is frozen can have substantial impacts on dissolved oxygen, potential fish kills, aquatic vegetation and algae growth, nutrient cycling, and more. It's important to track changes in ice cover over many years to understand natural fluctuations and how these fluctuations may be changing. As a volunteer monitoring ice cover as part of the Wisconsin Citizen Lake Monitoring Network, you will make visual observations of ice cover from shore to determine the date that the lake first freezes, which we call ice on, and the date that the ice completely melts, which we call ice off. There may be only one of each of these events per year, or there could be multiple depending on the weather over the winter season. It is best to live on the lake that you're monitoring or at least drive past it each day so that you can make an accurate determination of the day that the lake first froze or thawed. We consider the ice on date to be when the lake is completely frozen. The lake should remain frozen for at least 24 hours before reporting the date of ice on. Occasionally, lakes will get a layer of thin ice overnight, and most of that will melt the following day. We do not consider it to be an ice on event if the ice only lasts for part of one day. You may notice that most of the lake freezes except for a small area that seems to resist freezing. This commonly happens due to strong groundwater inputs or current entering or exiting the lake. In this case, you should consider an ice-on event to be when at least 90% of the lake has frozen, including the deepest area of the lake. Some areas near springs, inlets, or outlets may resist freezing for the entire winter. An ice-off event is when the lake has completely thawed. In other words, you could take a boat from any point on the shoreline to the deepest part of the lake without encountering ice. Again, there may be a single ice-off event in the spring, or there could be multiple ice-off events if a winter warm spell is able to melt the ice. To report ice-on and ice-off data, you need a username and password for the State of Wisconsin database called SWIMS. We have a separate video that will walk you through that quick process. If you already have a username and password from a different project, you just need to send us an email to get an ice observations project added to your account. Once you have a username and password, you can log into the database. Then click on Submit Data and click Submit Data again. The home page can look a bit different depending on the type of device that you're using. Click on the Project box to show a list of your projects. You should have an Ice Observations project in the list. After selecting your Ice Observations project, the database should automatically fill in your name, the station, and the correct form. You'll need to enter the start date, which is the date of ice on or ice off, depending on which event you're reporting. The start date and end date will be the same. You don't need to enter anything in the document box. The Fieldwork comment box is for any notes you'd like to add about the conditions of the lake at the time of your observation. Now scroll back up to the top and click the Next button. You'll enter a brief description of your observation point, the portion of the lake that you can see from that point, and the month, day, and year of your observation. This date will match your start and end dates from the last page. If you used a method other than a simple observation from shore, you can describe that method in the third box. Now click the Save and Return button, and that's it. You can now click the arrow in the upper right of your screen to log out of the database. Thanks so much for monitoring ice conditions as part of the Wisconsin Citizen Lake Monitoring Network. If you have any questions, please contact your local Citizen Lake Monitoring Network coordinator or the statewide educator.